Hey guys, welcome back to Layback Homestead. I'm Crystal and today is garden tour day and we'll do a small harvest as well, what we have left. The garden is in a bit of a transition period right now, so I'm going to be pulling some stuff and probably this upcoming week resetting things and starting new seeds and doing all of that fun stuff. So today we'll take a look at what's still living and harvest what we can get out of it. So part of what we're doing today is we are moving all of we're moving the tomato bucket wall, if you will, onto the patio here so that I can go ahead and decide if anybody's worth holding on to or just pulling them and resetting all of these buckets. So since it's raining outside, we got hit with a brief little summer storm. I'm just going to start the garden tour inside the greenhouse. You can see here my peppers that I put in here. I don't even remember what variety this was. They've been in here for so long, but they weren't doing anything. They were kind of just straggling, and I didn't expect them to make it, but here they are looking nice and healthy. Oh, I actually read the tag. This was store-bought, so that just means it was seeds I saved out of a nice red bell pepper. So I don't know what we'll get out of that. I've got a ridiculous amount of volunteer tomatoes, and then back here is our squash seed that we just planted out when we did the greenhouse clean out and redo. So there's another squash. You can already tell that's a volunteer. Probably tomato coming up. Got some other peppers over here. If I had to guess, these are also the store-bought variety. Look at that, another volunteer tomato. I don't know if I'll leave any of that. The peppers I'll leave, but I really want squash in here. And then we had planted all of this out. Out of the seeds that we direct sowed in here, though, the only one that has come up is one of the mashed potato varieties. So again, the germination rate has not been good. And we started a bunch in baggies. I have a seed order being delivered this week, so they say. So we'll do a little mini seed haul and probably a seed restart. And on this side of the greenhouse, again, we've got a pepper I stuck in here that really was scraggly, got chomped on a lot. It's kind of starting to bounce back now that a lot of the competition's moved on. We have a seed we planted out of our Ziploc baggie, and then we had a transplant over here, which now I'm realizing I've got cups that need to be sanitized. So now that it's stopped raining, that brief little storm passed through, just enough to cool us off, which I'm grateful for. But I'm able to come out now and do the full tour. So in our wilty bed here, we've lost a lot, but there's actually still a lot hanging on. I'm not really sure the timeline of when everything will die, but it will. This guy, I'm afraid, is the next victim. I was really hoping I would get to see what this was. It was a bulb that I had planted, but now the new growth on it is not looking good. And I just have a feeling all of a sudden the new growth looking wonky like this, that it's probably got the wilt. So bummed. I really wanted this to flower so I could see what it is. So here we do have one surviving potato, hasn't succumbed to the wilt yet. Dead potato. Back there, dead pepper. So all of that is going to get yanked out today. The only living tomato I have in this bed is a Chef's Choice buy, and it is still setting fruit. I mean, of course, tomato season's really winding down here, so the fruits are not big, and they typically ripen way too soon, and we have a lot of pest pressure. But he is the last surviving tomato in the bed. And then in the back, I have a great Thai, which my understanding is hotter peppers handle the wilt a little bit better. We'll see. In this bed, pretty sure, again, that it has wilt. I lost some potatoes in here. I do have some Romas to go ahead and harvest, so I will do that. Nothing else looks like it has the wilt as of right now in this bed. I do have a dead tomato plant back there. That may have very well been what killed that. But I also have some bell peppers in here that they're struggling to produce. I mean, it's it's too hot. You know, I'm in zone 9A, Southeast Louisiana. It's well over 90 degrees with ridiculous amounts of humidity. So you can see at this point, we've got leaf disease. And I could attempt to come out and do the shade cloth thing. I've done that in the past, but this year, not really an option. Things are super tall. So my system wouldn't have even permitted me to do a shade cloth this year. Alrighty, let's grab what I can get off of here. So in my third bed here, everything is still producing, every variety in here. Now, of course, like I mentioned, we've got a lot of pest pressure, so things don't look good, but we'll come through and see what we can get. I mean, we've got pink girls, pink brandywines, black brandywines, black from Tula, Big Bertha, well, that's a pepper that's in the middle, country taste, hillbilly, triple L crop, and Dr. Wychees. And even my green beans are starting to try to come back. Here's part of the problem. I don't know if it'll zoom in on them or not. There they are. Oop, out of focus. That's the problem. I'm gonna come take care of that. So it is drizzling again, off and on our tour. You can see, I mean, things are still producing, but they're not getting very big. And even my purple green beans, I didn't get any beans off of them, but I just noticed they are starting to try to flower again. So I'm really excited about that because I'm hoping maybe they'll produce when the weather starts to cool off. And then over here, growing up through my trellis, I've got a nice cucumber. Harvest that today. And yes, I do have my alcohol with me to sanitize any instruments that I have to use between beds. The last bed, as you can see here in my first row, the last bed has some fruit we're gonna get off of it. It's doing good. My celery's still growing, which is odd. I guess maybe it gets enough shade. This bed was mostly Roma's red sausages and cream sausages. And so I'm gonna go ahead and grab what I can. The trombone chino volunteer spreading across the beds. I intentionally grew the trombone chino last year from seed, and it took well over 9 months to ever produce one fruit. And now I've got 3 volunteers, again, taking over my garden space, but they're really only providing shade at this point because, again, it takes them like at 9 months, at least where I am, 9 months to ever even set one fruit. The marigolds still looking nice. Are we supposed to deadhead marigolds? I don't know. Brad's atomic is struggling, but still has some fruit, lots of disease. Since most of this bed though is still producing, or in this case just starting to produce, I'm going to leave it alone. This bed won't be one that I'm redoing anytime soon. I do need to come obviously weed. Get all of this out of here so that my mallow that I had planted out will have a chance. So that was all of what I call row A. And now we'll come through row B, see what they have to offer. Again, this first bed, I'm 99% sure has wilt. Lost several cucumber plants to it. And I was actually questioning whether or not I was going to get any cucumbers out of this bed, but I am happy to report I've gotten at least one. So my tomatoes in here that are still living are still producing to an extent. This speck here is Paul Robeson. He's not really producing at this point with the heat. I'm taking another rain break, but as you can see, progress is getting made. My husband's now over in the hydroponic with the Mad Hatter pepper plant that is a true beast. And we've moved our tomato wall. Got that done. This right here is sugarcane. Nice Louisiana staple. Well, it has finally stopped raining, so I'm able to come out and finish up the garden tour, take my one-off little cucumber. Not too bad, considering it's probably the only one I'll get off of this plant. So in this bed, I have some purple basil, and all of my tomatoes are still producing. Again, these were all supposed to be determinate varieties. Red sausage, Roma, I'm sorry, not red sausage, cream sausage and Romas, but none of them up and quit yet. So they are still going. This is another bed that I suspect I have wilts, as you can see down here. See if it'll focus. That is wilt. So 4 out of 8 beds so far that I've confirmed the wilt in. So we're just going to harvest what we can out of here. So again, in this bed, more purple basil that's growing. My marigolds look like they're dying back. I've got some volunteer peppers in there. This is a poblano that had been pretty shaded out by everything, but now that a lot of the tomatoes in here are kind of on their last leg, we're going to go ahead, get what we can get, and probably start deciding which beds to cull. I mean, the wilt beds are going to take care of themselves. Now back here, again, the only things that are still really producing are my paste varieties, my Romas. Everything looks okay, and there's flowers, but we're really not getting any fruit off of them right now. I may let them go one more week just to see. But again, down here, this is the lettuce leaf basil. I love, love, love basil. And then I've got some peppers in here as well that I think once we remove some of these tomato plants, they won't be getting as shaded and will take off once the weather cools off. So the blueberries have been all pretty much picked through from these 2 bushes. I've got my great Thai still setting a ton of fruit. So coming into my fire pit, fire ring area, I've got some poblanos back there that are just starting to blush. I'm hoping to see some more eggplant come on here. I don't have any. I've harvested 2. I don't see any right now. And my poor grow bags. I do have a tomato in here that's never done anything. I've got some garlic in here, as well as a few carrots that are left. And then these were the bags that I was trying to test. Oh, I do have a peanut that actually survived and came up. The rest of them were dug up by the squirrels, but it does appear that I at least have 1 in here. So that will be interesting to watch and see what happens. My beets are, wow, decimated. Well, I'm not sure what got in here. I mean, obviously a caterpillar, but okay. My latest wilty tomato, I'm going to go ahead and pull this today. There's no reason for that to stay. This was another bag I was testing, but the peanuts all got eaten. And then back here, again, mostly peppers. I do have a few tomatoes, but they're not really producing anymore. I mean, it looks like they're trying to set fruit. Focus on that, but I'm not expecting a whole lot just because of the pest pressure. And down here, I do have some peanuts that have come up. So we'll see how long they last with the wilt. Just some peppers at this point. Looks like the dragon toes back here are taking off. When they first set fruit, they were actually quite small, and now they're actually a decent size. I'll have to try those. My poblano is a little sad. Everything really needs to be fertilized. I think this is a giant Antigua. Yeah, that's what that is. My hydroponic jungle, as you see here, is doing quite well. Everything is producing. This looks like a little nutrient issue. We've had a decent amount of rain, but I can't complain because this plant is almost, as you can see, we've got it rigged up. It's basically taking over the hydroponic system, and that would be the Mad Hatter pepper. I've grown that last year. I didn't get a single pepper off of it, but I grew it in a bucket, and now I'm seeing that clearly the way to go was hydroponically, because there is a ton of them. And this guy hasn't set fruit yet, but I planted him late. Oh, actually, take that back. There we go. I'm not sure what variety that is. I hope it's not another Mad Hatter, because that's going to get crazy. So this was the baby Tabasco we had planted out in another video, and it looked like it got topped immediately after planting it by something. And now I've got things encroaching on it. So we may have to do a really hard prune in here at some point, but everything is producing. So I'm trying not to mess with it. I mean, we've got some decent sized peppers, my hand for reference. So maybe making some stuffed poblanos. So over in my self-wicking containers, I have an eggplant here that hasn't really done much. I'm guessing it's getting shaded out by the cucumber growing next to him. But we have some cucumbers here. We need to get them off. I'm actually quite surprised. I've harvested a good bit of cucumbers off of this plant already. And then next door, again, this is another little self-wicking, self-watering container off of Amazon. I've got my very struggling San Marzano. We've had a lot of pest pressure on this plant, so I've harvested some and some have just gone completely bad. My herb container, again, this is self-watering. My herbs are actually finally starting to take off. Got our lime basil and our regular basil here. Even my walking onions and my chives. If you can even see the chives, they kind of blend in there. I'm really surprised. I thought this whole thing was going to be a bust, but it looks like they're finally taking off. My grow bags over here aren't really doing much of anything. They're kind of overtaken with grass. I do have some garlic in here. I need to come weed all of this out. And then again, I've got more hot peppers growing, but this whole area just needs to be completely weeded. I do suspect wilt in this bed. I had planted some peanuts, but I'm not sure if anything would have been able to come up with all that nonsense. And I've got dragon tongue bush beans setting. So we will need to harvest those as well. This plant has just done crazy this year. And more peppers here. This is the MG Leopolds. Very spicy, very prolific. And over here on this side of the greenhouse, I've got some peppers that are not doing that great, some basil that's doing wonderful, and an eggplant that loves to flower, but I have yet to see a single fruit. So that's a little bit upsetting. I've been waiting for a while. There's a ton of flowers open, but I have not gotten a single eggplant off of that. And then my fireball is hanging on. My pepper row here is quite scraggly. I don't think they get enough sun. I know I've said that 1,000 times and that I need to move them. Problem is, these containers are open to the ground, so I'm just afraid to put them in different places in my yard because they'll get infected with the wilt. And then over here, we have another eggplant. This one I have harvested. This was the green eggplant variety. And my celebrity, which I have another one back there blushing. And we just pulled a nice looking tomato off of there. So coming by row C, this is the one where the varieties are all confuddled and we're not really sure necessarily who's who. But you can see the real winner in the bed right now is my sweet potatoes. This is the vine that, or this is the bed, I should say, in the sweet potato experiment I'm running, where I just threw the sweet potato in here with the slips on it, threw it in here and buried it. And then next door, I planted just the slips. And they are finally taking off. It has taken them quite a while. They're definitely not, if you can tell, the jungle of sweet potato vines I have over here. They're using the tomatoes as, you know, stakes, and we're just vining them back and forth around the bed. And so over here, they're not vining quite yet. This guy looks like he's going to start soon. So I will be really interested to see where I get the majority of my sweet potatoes from. Because right now, it does look like the lazy way of doing this is winning. We have been getting a little rain, and you could tell things are definitely like petering out as far as the tomatoes go. This area gets the most sun in my yard, and I am finally seeing some growth. It looks like my basil back here is trying to go to seed. And then out of my self-wicking buckets, we left the ones that have peppers in them. That one looks a little wonky. And then this guy had a pepper. It was a purple one. And the purple ones don't really handle the heat here well, as you can see. But we also have another eggplant here that, again, I have harvested one eggplant off of, but I don't even see any flowers on him, so he may need to be fertilized. Well, guys, we got a lot done today. If you have any questions about any of the varieties I've grown so far, go ahead and let me know. I'd love to know what you're currently growing. I'm about to do a big seed starting video probably this week. And yeah, thanks for coming along with us. Appreciate you hanging out. And until next time, stay blessed.